Hi crafty friends, this is Christine, and today I have a tutorial for you showing you how to use one of the Graphic 45 binder albums in the Journaling Through Time collection to make a 12-month album or binder book. I hope you will stay tuned for the tutorial. For the binder, I'm using my ivory colored binder, but you can use any of the Graphic 45 binders to do this. I'm starting on my outside cover. I first have my gold metallic paper. It is cut to 8 inches by 8.5 inches. And then from my 8x8 paper, I have taken this one here, and I have trimmed 1/8 of an inch off of each side so that this is 7 3/4, but I've left this 8 inches, and it's going to go right here in the center. Now it is going to have a little bit of a larger border on the top and the bottom than the sides. If you don't like that, you can actually cut 1/4 of an inch off of both sides to make it more uniform, but I didn't want to cut off any more of the design, so I'm going to leave mine so that they are slightly less uniform. I'm going to go ahead and apply these down here to my cover, and then we'll come back and add our embellishments. For my front cover, I've got my postage stamp piece from my ephemera assortment, and I've cut another piece of that metallic gold cardstock, just a little bit larger than it, so that this will stand out a little bit more on the paper. I'm going to be angling this here, and I'm going to be adding a little cluster here. I've got my rub-on, so I've cut the woman out of the rub-on, being very careful just to cut around her and save the rest of the design. Going to set her here for now. I do still have the backing on that because I don't want to accidentally stick that down. I've taken the Let Your Soul Sparkle sentiment. This is the one that I want to use for the front cover. Now, if you have a different one that you like, you can always switch this out, but I'm going to be placing it here. I'm going to adjust these in a minute as well. From the rub-ons, I've taken Imagine with the butterfly connected and just a couple of those little splatters, the color splatters too. I'm going to be placing this up here. Then I have one of the teal butterflies from the rub-ons. I'm going to place it up here. And then I've got this little teeny tiny butterfly here from the rub-ons that I'm going to use right here. So I'm just going to be surrounding her with those butterflies. And then from the ephemera assortment, I've taken the 2 yellow flowers. I'm going to be putting it here. And that's also the reason that I have the metallic gold, because I'm going to bring that yellow out of it. And I thought that the gold would be a good way to do that. So I'm going to place my flower assortment piece so that the stem is underneath, but then the flower comes out on the top, and I want to make sure that it doesn't go over the edge. So when I put this on, I'm going to be angling it so that this flower is in the correct position. And then I've got this other one that I'm going to be placing over here like this on the opposite side. Now mine does stick down here, so I will probably be cutting this stem off when I adjust this for the final time when I go to put this down. Now holding this in place where it's going to go, I'm just going to then go ahead and adjust these pieces. I'm going to tuck the K from the sparkle underneath that piece if needed as well. Just like this. And just arrange those pieces until you like the look of it. And she isn't in the center for me. I'm making everything slightly off center. If you like it in the center though, you adjust it however you choose. Now, once I have everything in place, what I'm going to do, since I've taken the time to make sure everything is placed correctly, I'm going to take my pencil, and I like to just put little tiny marks that you can erase later. Where the corner of this is, here and here, I'm just tracing around that so I know where that one goes. And then I'm going to trace around this petal here so that I know where that one should go. And then this one I can place afterwards. Same thing with this piece here. So now I can take these ones off. I don't have to worry about this. I am going to leave my sparkle piece there for just a minute, and I'm going to add my rub-ons first. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to start with it, placing it here. You can use the little stick that comes with your rub-on, or you can use a bone folder or another flat tool, but you want to go ahead and add this on. I just cut my fingernails, so it's really hard to lift this off. There we go. I'll take this butterfly next. I'm going to put it up here like this. And my last little butterfly, putting it in position down here. Once I have those, I can go ahead and reposition her and make sure she is in the position that I want her in relative to my butterflies and my sentiment here. I'll take off the backing. And then place her down and rub her onto the paper. Once this piece is on, I'm going to now take these. I've added this piece to my gold cardstock piece, and I'm just going to now place this one right where I had it on the front cover. I'm going to take this one and trim off that end. And place it right here where it needs to go. And now with this here, I'm actually going to start, I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive here where these two pieces overlap. I'm going to put this back in place. And then this one back in place here. And I'll press this down. So now this will be one piece, so it'll make it a little easier to place that one there. Do the same thing with this one. So once this is here, this piece goes up here. I'm going to position this one right there. And now, with this as one piece, I'm just going to apply my adhesive, and then I can use those marks that I made to hold down or to know where to place the strip with the gold paper. I'm going to use those marks to line this whole piece up on that front cover. And then once this piece is on, I will also add the adhesive to the back of that sparkle piece and tuck it just slightly, just the piece, the tail of the K, onto or underneath this piece. So just double checking to make sure that this still doesn't hang off the edge. It is right at the edge on mine. And if you want any of this to be more dimensional, you could use some foam tape here. You could pop this up on chipboard if you want. If you want the sentiment to stand out a little bit more, you could also back it with metallic cardstock and fussy cut behind it. It might not tuck behind there now. I probably should have done that to start. So I'm just going to leave it over top. thought I'd be able to get it up, but that stuck a lot faster than it should have. That's okay. Next, I'm going to work on the spine piece. So I've got some of my gold metallic cut to 1 3/4 by 8 1/2. Now to get this piece, I'm going to get you the back piece first. You've got the Patterns and Solids gold piece. You need to cut a piece to 8 inches by 8 1/2. Then on the remainder piece, you need to cut to 1 1/2 by 8 inches. And I am going to be using the washi tape on this one just to give it some more color. And I've got my Imagine ephemera piece. I've marked top and bottom here on this one where the center is. And I am going to be applying my washi tape down the center of this piece. Now I'm going to do it this way so it's easier. And I am also going to add adhesive because washi tape, for me personally, I feel like it doesn't stick permanently, so I want this to stay down. I am going to make this larger than the actual piece and extend it over the sides and wrap it behind the back so that it doesn't uncurl. And then I'm going to take this in the center of my piece. If you already have your double-sided tape on the back here, just remove the backs off of the end pieces and then tuck your washi tape up underneath the back. So now we have this piece that I am going to place in the center of my gold. Now the last thing that I'm going to do, I marked the center and I'm going to be placing my ephemera piece here right in the center of my spine piece and burnishing it down. And so now I have this that I am going to adhere right here to my spine. So for my back cover, I have my gold metallic that's 8 by 8 1/2, and then my gold Patterns and Solids that I mentioned before, I said 8 inches by 8 1/2, but it's actually 7 3/4 by 8 inches. And on this one, I'm going to set this one aside for now, and I'm going to focus on this one. I've got my Throw Kindness Like Confetti piece here, and I'm going to just put this down towards the bottom like this, and I'm going to take my washi. While this is here, I'm just going to mark this here and here because that's where I'm going to put some washi. So just like on the spine piece, I'm going to make this a little bit larger than I need it to be. And I'm going to flip this over and tuck those ends into that tape. And then I'm going to find the center here of this and add my ephemera piece here so that the kindness part of my ephemera piece is actually running through that washi tape, or the washi tape is actually intersecting the word kindness. And now I have my balloons. I'm going to be tucking the ends up underneath of here. I think I'm just gonna trim these ends off to make it easier on myself. And I'm going to have it actually off to the side. Now I'm using the balloons because I will be using my binder as a way to organize birthday cards. I am terrible about remembering to send out birthday cards to people, so I'm hoping with a binder like this, I can just have each month with people's birthdays and make the cards and put them in the pockets, and then whenever that next month comes, I can just open up to that month and see whose birthday I need to send a card for. So that's what my pages are actually going to be as well. So that's why I've selected the balloon piece here. So if you are going to be using your book for something different, you don't have to choose that piece. You can put something different or you can leave it off. Now, once I have this, I'm going to go ahead and adhere it down here to the middle of my gold paper, and then I'll adhere this whole piece to the back of my album. Once my outside cover is decorated, I'm going to go ahead and come to the inside and work on decorating the inside. So for my inside front cover and the inside spine, I have taken my blue Patterns and Solids paper, and this is cut to 8 inches by 8.5 inches. Then I've taken the piece that was cut from the bottom, and this is cut to 1.5 by 8.5, and I'm going to place that here on the spine. Now I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to place it up against the ridge here that's between these two pieces, all the way against there. That way I have that small border over here on this side, and then this one is just going to be centered between those two ridges. For the back cover, we are going to be cutting this section out and placing the paper over top of it. I'm going to be using my green Patterns and Solids for this. So I've cut this to 8 by 8.5. Now it's going to end up looking like this. So this is the piece that we're going to be cutting. So what you're going to want to do is from the left, you're going to measure over 3/8 of an inch and then 1 1/4 from the left edge at top and bottom. Now from the top down, you're going to measure 1 1/4, and you're going to measure again to 7 3/8. So I have this piece here. I'm going to take and just trace this first, just like you would have on yours. So very lightly go ahead and mark where you've got those measurements. And then you can draw these lines. And now this piece will fit right over here, and you can just leave it like this if you want, or you can go ahead and round these corners so that you don't have that big gap there. So if you're wanting to round your corners, you'll just come in and just slightly round those corners in all 4. And then either taking a straight edge and a ruler, cutting this, or using scissors, or a combination of the two, you're going to go ahead and cut this out. So what I used was my craft knife and a ruler. And I'm going to start on the straight side, just below that curve. And then I'm going to stop just above the curve there. Then the same thing with this side. And next I'm going to use my fussy cutting scissors in here to round those corners and go across that top section. And then the same thing down here, rounding those corners and across the bottom section, just like that. And then I'll take my eraser and just erase those corners since I didn't cut through those corners. And then my line wasn't straight here. My knife kind of slipped. So I'm just going to clean that cut up a little bit there. And then when I bring this back in, remove this one, we have that nice fit there. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this down, and you'll see it is also up against this ridge area, just like on this one, giving us that nice border over here. For now, I'm just going to leave my covers plain. Later on, I may come in with some more of my washi tape or some of my ephemera pieces or even my stickers and add some decorations, but I want to get my pages in here first so that my embellishments will match the pages, because I'm going to be starting with January on the front. Obviously, December will be the last page, and I want to make sure everything is coordinated. So I will come back to the covers later, and then for now, I'm going to then move on to the pages. For my album, all 12 of my pages are going to have the identical page style. So I'm using the pages that came with the Graphic 45 album. This is the first page style that we're going to be using, and it is the one that has the flap on the front that folds over to the right. What I did was I put this in my paper trimmer. I've left this piece 3.5 inches, so I've cut 2.5 inches off of the end or the edge that flips open of that flap. I'm going to leave the 3.5 inch side here, just like this. And then I'm going to flip over to the back side here, and I am going to place this one here like this. So I'm going to have a smaller flap here than I do on here. So the larger part is going to be on the front, then the smaller part is going to be on the back. I'm not going to be attaching this with glue yet. I will be attaching it with glue top and bottom once my paper is on, and then I'm going to be using my washi tape down the side of this, and I'm going to be wrapping it over, and that's what's going to seal this pocket here, because I don't want to have to score it and then put a flap on to make this smaller, and I want to try to use as much of this pocket as I possibly can. So we need those 3 pages here that we cut 2.5 inches from, and then the second page style, we have these ones that had the bottom flap, so the front flap folded down to the bottom. On these ones, we've got the same thing. So these ones are 3.5 inches. We're going to have one on the front, and then the 2.5 inch piece we're going to have on the back. So for these ones, what I did was I just cut that piece right off of the bottom of the page, and then I cut it into those 2 separate pieces. For these are the 6 art media pages. These are the ones that are going to make up the rest of our pages, and I've brought in my own cardstock to make my 6 pieces that are 3.5 and my 6 pieces that are 2.5 inches. The only pages that I will not be using in my album are the ones that have the tabs on it with those pockets on the bottom, because I want to keep with this same style. Now, to cover all of my pages, I've used patterns and solids, and then I used a couple sheets of the 8x8 patterns and solids in the collection pack to finish this out. The front side of the page, this piece on the flap is 3.25 by 8 inches, and then this piece is 3 inches by 8 inches. I'll come to the backside pieces in just a minute. What I've done is I've taken the papers that coordinate with each month. So for example, we have January here, and I've taken the colors that I thought matched best. So that's why I have my blue and my yellow papers. I will show you each of the months as well, so you can follow along with mine if you don't want to have to figure out papers for yourself, but you can always choose whichever ones you want. Once you have this paper on and this paper on, you're going to need to repunch these holes. I don't have a 2-hole binder punch. I only have a 6-hole punch, so I can't use that for this. So I'm just going to use my Crop-A-Dial and repunch these holes here. Then on the back side, I'm going to do the opposite. So I had blue here, I'm going to put blue here, and I'm going to put the yellow on this side. So now this piece is 4 inches. It's going to go over here on the right side of my page, and then I'm going to put this one on. Once these holes are punched, I'm going to add this piece on, and I'm not going to be adhering that end part down because I want that pocket to be as deep as possible. So I'm just taking my adhesive and running it along these top and bottom edges, just a very thin piece. And then I will take this part here and just set it down, lining up the top and bottom edges, and then that left edge, and then burnishing this down onto the page. For the opposite side, I'm going to do the same thing across this top flap here and the bottom of the flap. And then I'll close this down to form that pocket on the front of my page. Now I'm going to be adding my washi tape across the edge here. So I'm going to just apply a very thin line of adhesive down this edge, just on the front side first. I'll worry about the back side in just a minute. So I'm going to take my washi tape now and I'm applying it so that only half of the tape is on that front side. And then I'm going to, on this side, I'm going to just put the adhesive right on the tape. And then I will take my page and flip it over and use my bone folder to burnish it down. And then I'll cut this little excess piece off here. And now we have our washi on both sides. So this is the front of my page, and then this is the back side. Once I've finished adding all of my decorative papers and my washi tape, I decided to use hole reinforcers on both sides of my pages just to make sure that these pages are nice and sturdy. Now the album comes with these ones here, but I didn't use them because they're actually larger than the hole, so I'm not really sure how these are going to reinforce the holes because they're not close enough to the actual hole itself. So I've used some hole reinforcers. These are dies from Elizabeth Craft Designs, and I have several different ones, so I just chose the one that I liked and I used those instead. So this is the page that I've shown you already. The next page here, I've chosen the pink with the numbers and then the green clouds. And then on the opposite side, I've got that other red paper and then the other green paper. Then for the next one, for page 3, I've got the blue and the yellow. Opposite on this side too. Then I've got the blue on the pocket and the yellow on the base. for page 4, we've got that green here and the red here, and then opposite with the green cloud and the, I keep calling it red, or I think it's considered pink. And then here, the opposite page, we've got that blue on the base and then the pink numbers, and then the blue on the flap, and then the pink on the base. We've got the pink over here again, and then we've got the yellow on the pocket, and the pink numbers, and the yellow on the base. Then we've got the yellow on the base here, and the green on the pocket. Opposite here, we've got the yellow on the pocket, and we've got the green clouds. Then I've got the green clouds again over here with the blue. Then over here, we've got the green and the blue with the butterflies. Same paper as here, so these are the same. So we've got the blue butterflies, and then the pink with the numbers. Then the blue butterflies here, and then this pink paper. It carries on here as well. Then we've got the green clouds. And we've got the pink number and the green clouds again. We've got the blue and the yellow. And opposite, the blue with the butterflies and the yellow here. On the final page, we've got the green on the base and the yellow on the pocket. And then opposite here, we've got the green here and the yellow on that page base. So these are the pages. They're all very basic pages at this point. Lots of color, and you can switch these pages around any way you choose if you have a different color order that you would like to use. But the build for the page is identical, so that then you can go ahead and add additional things or change it up, add more pages if you want to. So with the base of the album done, it is time for you to be able to personalize this album however you choose. Perhaps you want to use this as a planner, then you could add some different planner inserts here as well. If you are doing a monthly mini album style scrapbook, you would have something for each of the months. Now what I'm going to be doing with this is making this into a binder to hold handmade cards for each month. So the first one is for January. I've got 2 pockets. I'm probably going to be adding some extra decorations, but I'm going to make this be January and then have room for a list of birthdays in January. That way I know who I need to send cards to, and then to have a place for handmade cards. So throughout the year, I could make a card or 2 and I could just stick it in these pockets, and then whenever I need to send a birthday card, I will have everything organized into this little book. So that's my idea and how I think I'm going to be using this, which is why I did leave everything plain here for now. So however you choose to decorate your album is completely up to you. You've got the ephemera pieces, got the paper collections themselves, you've got the stickers, more of the washi tape. Now I purposely didn't use any of the cut apart pages for each month because I'm going to be using these to make my actual cards for the year. I'm going to make the cards first, I think, and then if I have some leftover pieces, I might come over here and add some decorations. I am going to be adding a little bit to the pages now, so I will come back and show you what I do add just a little bit to my pages. But for the most part, I'm not going to be touching these papers here just so that I have them for my cards. Now I will give you a peek inside my binder and what I did. I added a few finishing touches. So I took the multicolored washi tape and ran a strip down the side, and I put the postage stamp sticker of the flamingo here, and I did the same thing here across the back. So I have the washi tape and then the sticker here as well. On the backs of all of my sheets, I used the washi that had the text quotes on it and just put a piece down each of those pockets just to give a little bit of decoration. And then the biggest thing that I did was I added my chipboard pieces. These are laser cut that I do sell. I've used these, but if you don't have these or you don't want to purchase something like this, you can also use Graphic 45 has stamps. They are retired now, but if you have them from a previous set or if you have other stamps, you can go ahead and stamp the months on here as well if you're doing something like I am. I did add a birthday list here, and this file is available for download for you for free if you wanted to put something like this in your binder. Then I took the washi stickers with the postage stamps and I just cut individual pieces, and I tucked one on the front of each of my birthday lists. So each month will be the same. So I've just gone through the roll. I didn't coordinate them. I just took whichever was the next sticker from the stamp roll and put one on each of these for every single one of them. I did mention that I will be using this to store cards, so I did go ahead and make this card using the January cut-aparts and some of the leftover papers that I had, and I brought in some of that gold metallic paper. And then I've used my Graphic 45 stamps. Again, these are retired, but if you do have them, they do match really well. You could also use the ephemera pieces here too. So with my card, I'm just going to tuck it in here. So then I have a January birthday card. Or since January is double-sided, I could have tucked it here as well. So I've got plenty of space in my binder to go ahead and add some cards. I'm going to leave it here in the front side just so that you can see that there. I hope you have found this tutorial helpful, even if it's just to give you an idea about how you can use one of your Graphic 45 binder albums, how to cut the inside cover, to use this around the ring piece, and just a general way of how you can decorate the cover. If you are going to go ahead and make this project, I would love for you to let me know what you think. And if you would like to see more of the cards that I create, also leave a comment down below and I may share some of those cards in a tutorial in the future. As always, please feel free to tag Graphic 45 and all of your creations on social media so we can see what you're making with these gorgeous papers. Happy crafting!